Real families, real farms, real food. Welcome to Arizona Agriculture Connection with Maricopa County Farm Bureau. My name is Nicole Clements, Executive Director, and I'll be your host. Maricopa County Farm Bureau is the voice of agriculture in a community that thrives on the dichotomy of urban and rural agriculture operations. This podcast is a home for farmers, ranchers, food lovers, prospective agriculturalists, and those looking to connect the food on their plate with the farm that it came from. As we take an inside look at agriculture in Arizona, we will delve into topics like ag technology, policy, food preparation, and everything in between. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform with new episodes every Wednesday. Arizona Agriculture Connection is hosted by Maricopa County Farm Bureau and sponsored by Paloma Ready Mix and Materials, a proud supporter of agriculture and our communities. Be sure to subscribe and share your favorite episodes with your friends. For more interactions, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Maricopa County FB. Now let's discover some Arizona agriculture. Welcome back, Arizona Aggies, to another very, very exciting edition of Arizona Agriculture Connection. Today, you might recognize the familiar face that I have sitting with me today. If you've been around since the very, very first episode of Arizona Ag Connection, this is Dr. Michelle Schack, a.k.a. the Dairy Doc. She was our very, very first guest, and I am so happy to have you back. It feels like a full circle kind of moment. And we're diving in today. Not only is it Dairy Month, so make sure you're getting your servings of dairy in this month, guys. But we are very excited to share that Dr. Schack has actually written a book, a published author. That's so exciting.
Yes, I wrote a children's book, and I'm really excited to share it with you all.
I'm excited to talk about it. So what was it that made you want to jump into the literary community?
Well, as you know, I am a veterinarian for dairy cows, and I'm on farms. I do a lot of education on farms, and I also do a lot of education on social media. And in my community, online, in my work, I get a lot of questions about milk. And there seems to be a lot of confusion about what happens after it leaves the cow and how it ends up at the grocery store. And I started thinking this is really an area that we need more education on. And I'm also a mom, so I have little kids, and I ask them, where does milk come from and how does it get from the cow to the grocery store? And then that launched a whole survey. I actually interviewed 100 kids to try to figure out what do they know and what do they not know. Most of them knew that milk came from cows, 88% of them, which is pretty good. Could be better, but not bad. These are 4 to 8-year-olds, and none of them could explain how it got from the cow to the grocery store. The interesting thing is their imaginations were filling in the blank. So they had a lot of really crazy answers because that was just a gap in their knowledge. So I thought if I can impact education by starting early and write a children's book and reach these kids so that they can understand the process, then as they grow up to be adults, hopefully they'll be more informed and less distrustful of how their milk is getting to the store.
I think for me as a follower of yours on social media, that has been one of my favorite series.
Yeah.
It's sharing the answers of the questions that you ask the kids. And it's funny and it's entertaining because, you know, like, where does milk come from? Oh, it comes from the store. Okay. Yes. And it is entertaining to a point, but at some point it is a little disheartening because it kind of shows that we don't really know where our food comes from, even though these kids are young. But some of this knowledge doesn't continue to be obtained as they grow older and older. And so now you're a full-blown adult, and now you still don't really know where your milk comes from.
Yes, I think that we do a really good job teaching kids cows go moo, milk comes from cows, right? We know those things, and then we just sort of stop there. And then they grow up to be adults, and they don't know either. So then they can't teach the kids, and it's this vicious cycle. But online on social media, I hear a lot of really crazy things about milk. I hear that it's dyed white because it doesn't come out of the cow white. I hear that brown cows make chocolate milk. You've heard that one. I hear that chemicals are added. I hear a lot of distrust around the processing process and around milk and its journey. And I think it's actually the same thing, just less imaginative, that the kids are doing, which is there's a gap in knowledge. And so our minds are just going wild and filling in all the possibilities that could be there. And I think that it's important that we just tell people the truth.
Yeah, and we see it a lot, not only in dairy, but, in kind of our whole food system knowledge, right? There's so much stuff out there, and especially now. It's not just the news, it's social media, and it's like all of these things compounded. And now you feel like, you're searching for Carmen Sandiego, trying to find what is the actual truth.
Yes.
In the whole weedy mess of all of this information. And that's kind of, our goal here as Farm Bureau is just to share the story and share about where your food comes from. So
absolutely. I think it's important that we are telling people the information so that they can make informed choices. I try to be really respectful of whatever those choices may be, but if you're basing it on misinformation, then that's not going to be good for anyone, you included. I mean, I think that it's really important that we have the facts so that we can make good decisions in the grocery store, and a lot of people just don't have access to that information.
Yeah, I remember speaking with a group of dietitian students at a university. And I kind of opened the floor to questions, and they had a lot of them, right? And their topics were varied. And at the end of it, they had asked the organic versus traditional foods. And at the end, this girl came up to me and she said, "But I still don't know where you stand on organic versus non-organic." I was like, "You won't.
It doesn't matter.
Because my opinion shouldn't matter to you. I gave you the facts, and now you can make the decision that's best for you and your household on what you purchase to consume." We support all agriculture, and that's the goal.
Absolutely.
Because I think there is room and space for everything. But my job is to give you the facts.
Yeah.
And what you do with that, you choose whatever you feel is best for you.
Yeah. So in this book, I introduced the terms pasteurization and homogenization. Those were the two processes that I decided to highlight. We also talk about bulk tanks and how the milk is moved and all of the people involved. That's a big thing that I wanted to get across, is that it's really a team effort to get milk to the grocery store. But the two processes that I talked about were pasteurization and homogenization, because I hear a lot of confusion around that. Some people think if the cream doesn't rise to the top like it did in the good old days, that it's bad. And then some people see the cream rise to the top in non-homogenized milk and think that that's bad. And so it's just when milk looks different, there can be some confusion around there. And then, as we all know, pasteurization is very controversial these days, apparently. And there's a lot of questions around what does that actually mean and how is it altered from its natural state. And so I just explain what those processes mean so that kids can get this base understanding and get introduced to these concepts early so they sound less scary as they get older.
Yeah, especially when you hear, like, those are pretty big words.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an existing knowledge, it sounds pretty scary.
Yeah.
So how do you take those topics and those large words and kind of dial it down for, what'd you say, 4 to 8-year-olds?
4 to 8-year-olds. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a challenge. This was a really fun process to write this book, but also a lot longer and more involved than I ever realized. It seems like, oh, you want to write a kid's book? Just write a kid's book. But it's quite a process. I wanted to highlight a few of the things that milk goes through and just distill it down to the basics. But I will say I consulted a lot of people when writing this book. The plant manager at UDA, Steve Baxley, helped me with the homogenization part to make sure that the machines were accurate. And I spoke to a lot of different people involved in the process in many different ways to make sure that I was representing it accurately. That was a big goal of mine in the book, was to simplify so kids could understand, but not change it so much that it was not accurate. I mean, the best example I have is the cow. When I have an illustrator, when he first drew the cow, it was sort of round, and I had to go back to him several times. We need to see the hip bones. This is normally, I was sending him pictures, and then the milking parlor, same thing. I said, the cows don't stand like that. We have to angle them this way, because I really wanted to represent it accurately. And the farm in the book looks like an Arizona farm. it's a open, dry lot with a big shade in the background and cows are out in the pen, because those things are important. I think representing what is happening on farms and in these processes accurately, maybe simplified, but not changing how they actually are occurring, that's really important and goes a long way for ag literacy.
Yeah. I mean, we all love a big red barn,
yes.
But in Arizona, that's just not the case.
Just not the case. And kids, a lot of people online will tell me, well, it's so terrible the cows are not on grass, or that's not a good dairy farm, must not be a family farm because the cows are housed in this way. And I want better representation. I want kids to see that there's lots of different ways to house cows and to care for cows. And that's okay as long as the animals are being taken care of. That's what's important.
I have to ask because, gosh, I just don't know how you do it. But your wife, your mother, you're a full-time veterinarian for many of our family-owned dairies here in Arizona. You're a social media guru. And you're also writing books and like doing all of these other outreach type opportunities. A, how do you do it all? Please let me know your secret. And second, how do you stay motivated to continue the outreach that you're doing?
I am a person who loves to be busy, as you can probably guess. So I'm just busy all the time. I am thinking about these things all the time. I'm always thinking about 1,000 things in my head. I do feel sometimes that I live two lives, my work life and then my home life, and they're very different. But I can never stop thinking about this type of thing and what can I do next and what more can I do, because that's exactly what you said. What keeps me motivated is the feedback I get from projects like this. I have already gotten many of my clients, many farmers have reached out to me saying, thank you for helping represent our industry. I know there's a lot of people that are really busy and don't have time to do this stuff or don't want to. This is not their thing to be writing children's books or posting online. And if that's something that I can do to help the industry, I feel really privileged to get to be able to do that. And then the feedback, too, from the consumers, from my neighbors, from random people on social media. People are so excited to learn. They want to know how things work, right? They want to understand the story of their food and how it gets to their table. They want to be more confident in the food choices they're making in the grocery store. And when they learn a little nugget of information that I'm sharing in the book or online or in my speaking ventures as well, they are so happy and they tell me, hey, I learned something today. And that is really powerful to me. I feel really proud to be able to do that and impact the world in that way. I didn't grow up in agriculture at all. So I can understand where a lot of these people are coming from. When I was a kid, I would have loved to have a book like this or loved to have social media in existence that I could have sent in a question to a real veterinarian for cows. That would have been so cool. And I didn't have that opportunity. Kids these days, I want them to have that opportunity. So the feedback that I get and the impact I'm making, that's what really makes it all worth it.
I can see why, because this type of information is just coming straight from the horse's mouth, as they say, you know. But to have that access to someone with your experience and credentials and getting that factual information directly from you, like that is such an opportunity that, you know, prior to social media, we never really had.
Yeah.
And I think having that ability and just seeing your passion for everything, it's very clear how passionate you are about agriculture and dairy and the food industry, and it definitely shines through in everything you do. But we're very glad that you're writing books and staying busy.
Thank you. And it's been really cool because I've been connecting with a lot of really great organizations that are doing things in the school space, in the children's book space, and getting this message out to help kids understand where their food comes from. There's so many really awesome organizations. One I will highlight is here in Arizona. We have Ag in the Classroom. And they are going into classrooms across Arizona and teaching lesson plans and doing activities and bringing resources like this book to classrooms to help kids have that opportunity. And that's a really amazing thing that some of these organizations are doing. And I've been really happy to be able to partner with them to help get these resources out to kids who have the potential to learn and grow from them.
Absolutely. So our education team at Arizona Farm Bureau is outstanding. They're also very passionate about what they do. But we will be looking forward to seeing your book in their program and classrooms in the spring.
Yes, it is their spring ag literacy efforts. They provide 800 books to 800 classrooms. So each classroom gets a book and they do an activity and they provide resources to those classrooms. And my book, Dairy Doc's Discovery Goggles, Milk from Cow to Carton, will be the book for 2027. And it's going to be part of these efforts that they do in K through second grade classrooms. And for anybody listening, their schedule book opens in July 13th. And their website is azfbaitc.org. It's a long website, but they're doing really great things, and any classrooms can reach out or any schools can reach out to see if they can partner with them, whether that's for their spring ag literacy or their other efforts that they do. And that's one of the organizations that I'm working with, and it's really cool to be able to work with them.
Absolutely. And I will just say their dates book up really fast. So if you would like to have your classroom be a part of their program next year, make sure that you mark that July 13th date on your calendar because you don't want to miss it. Kind of going back to like how you grew up, because you're not from agriculture, and dare I say you're from California.
I am. Oh no, don't fault me for that.
We won't hold it against you. But as you were growing up, what were some of those conversations around where your food comes from that maybe your family was having, or were they having them at all?
I don't know if we even talked about it. I don't know if that was a topic of conversation. I had never really thought about how milk gets from the cow to the grocery store. I was one of these kids that I interviewed, right? And so now to be able to understand that process and then share it with kids is really, really meaningful for me. I was a kid who wanted to understand how everything works. So I was always asking, how does this work? How does this happen? How does the stereo in the car work? How do roads get built? You know, everything I could think of, I wanted to understand. And I really liked biology and physiology. So I was very into that. I knew I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I also wanted to be 100 other jobs, as kids do. So it's actually pretty accurate because I do more than just be a veterinarian now. But I was really a kid that wanted to explore, and I didn't have access. There was not 4-H and FFA where I grew up. I grew up in the Bay Area of California near San Francisco, and we just didn't have those resources available in my area. It wasn't until I went to college at UC Davis, that's more of an agriculture area. It's an ag school, and I got exposed to agriculture there. So I can relate to a lot of these kids who haven't had the opportunity, and their parents maybe, who haven't had the opportunity to learn these things. So how are they supposed to teach their kids if they've never learned it themselves? But as we are getting more and more resources available to us and information is really at our fingertips now, I want to be part of that. I don't want them to only be hearing one side of the story. I want to help represent dairy farming and milk and help people understand the process of how milk gets to the grocery store from someone that's involved in the industry rather than just whatever they happen to read online.
Absolutely. They say the average American consumer now is 5 generations removed from the farm. So that's a long time.
I believe that.
And even you didn't have grandparents that you went to their farm on the weekends or anything like that. And so now I think when we're seeking this knowledge, you know, it's coming at us from all these different directions. And being able to, maybe ironically, you know, get your information from a podcast or from social media, there's still kind of this gap from, well, I heard it, it must be true, and I think we kind of almost have to revert a little bit to, maybe the early 2000s. Let's fact check some of the things that we hear on the internet. And just, I think that's kind of what I stress to people who are seeking out the information. Make sure you're getting it from a credible source, and make sure that you're checking.
Yeah.
Even as someone who's been in agriculture, I still am looking up research and fact checking things that I hear. I'm not just, I don't know, maybe that's just suspicious of me, but I'm not just going to take your word for it. But I think that, especially in this day and age, is the best way to get the most accurate information, because there's just so much out there.
Yes. And that goes both ways. So for the average consumer to be able to get their information from credible sources and be able to learn about how their food is made, that's so important. And then for the farmers or people to be involved in the industry to help share that story out, be accessible for people to ask those questions to. And some of that is through organizations like Ag in the Classroom, and some of that is on your own, even if you're just talking to your neighbors and helping them understand, or the other parents at your kid's school, right? That you can make a difference if you can speak up, because what you know about is super interesting to other people. I feel that way. I can talk about dairy all day long, but if you talk to me about cotton, I'm like, tell me more. This is so interesting, right? It's not something that I do every day, and I think it's so fascinating. Now imagine someone who's not in agriculture at all. It's like a whole world is open to them, and they usually are very interested and really want to know and want to learn and have a super good attitude. People are a lot of fun to talk to.
I think that is probably one of the biggest things I hear from farmers and ranchers. They're just scared to talk to people because they don't want to have this combative conversation. And most of the time, people are just excited to learn about it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of speaks a lot of the way how you address maybe questions and comments that you get on social media that are maybe not as favorable or just kind of out of left field. And just answering the question. You don't have to respond in the same manner, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's just a great conversation because people are just innately curious.
Yeah, they are. And sometimes online, people can sound very aggressive because you can't read the emotion behind, or they're just repeating something that they've heard. But I would say the majority of the time, people really are genuinely curious, even if they sound kind of angry about it. Usually if you respond just calmly and explain what you're doing, people say, oh, wow, I had no idea. Thank you for sharing that. That's the majority of the people. And then there's some people that are just angry all the time, and you're not going to do anything about those people. But there's a lot of people that do want to learn, or that are they only have had the chance to listen to those very angry people. And if we don't speak up on our side, then they're only hearing one side of the conversation. And I've really enjoyed posting on social media and helping answer people's questions. And for me, the book is a way to continue to do that and expand upon that just to a new audience, a little younger audience.
I love that so much. Was it difficult for you to translate all of this big picture story, right, to a younger audience like that? Since you primarily have been kind of on social media and doing that, was that a bit of a jump?
Not so much. I have little kids. My kids are 6 and 9, and so I'm used to trying to explain things more simply. And then online, I do actually try to explain things very simply, because I don't know who I'm talking to. The person I'm talking to might be 11 years old for all I know. So I do try to use very simple words and start with the basics and then expand upon that. The hardest part really was just narrowing it down. What am I going to include? Because I couldn't include everything. And there's so many more things. I mean, I could do a whole book about how milk is tested. I could do a whole book about how the cow makes milk. I could do a whole book about the milk truck itself and how it gets in the milk truck and how the milk truck is cleaned and all of these things. And I had to just narrow it down. But it was a lot of fun to write, though, because I even learned some things. Some of the things I was like, okay, I know the basics of this, but what exactly does the inside of the bulk tank look like? Let me just take a look. And I talked to some people, and I was able to look in some bulk tanks and make sure we were representing it accurately. But, I'm a veterinarian, so I know the animal side really well. And we do have a lot of impact on milk quality and food safety. But some of these more specific things, even I had to get help on. I think we are all constantly learning, right? And I could write 100 more books. There's so much to learn about dairy. And that's really cool.
So are you going to write 100 more books?
Maybe not 100, but I would actually. I think this could be a whole series. So we'll see how it does. But so far it's going really well. And the response has been really encouraging. And it's been a lot of fun to work with school tours and ag groups and farm tours and dairy promotional groups and ag in the classroom, those types of organizations. And if I can continue doing that, I'd love to write book 2.
Well, we're all about it, so we hope that you get that as well. I want to just kind of dive into maybe the book writing part of it.
Sure.
So what was the hardest thing about writing the book?
The hardest thing was getting the amount of words correct and spacing correct. When I first wrote it, I had way too many words per page. Well, I wrote it and then I had to figure out where the page breaks were, and then I had way too many words per page, and then I had to slim it down, and then I had to change where the page breaks were, and then as I worked with illustrations, that changed some of the wording as well. So that was kind of interesting because I didn't really had the story in my mind, but I hadn't really thought about the page layout and the illustrations and how all of that would impact the story. So I've learned a lot from this process. And then working with the illustrator was a lot of fun. Pablo Lopez is my illustrator. He did a super great job and really got the essence of what I was trying to do very well done. And I'm really excited about how it turned out. That was not challenging, but it took time because there was revisions and we went back and forth and he helped me and I helped him. And so that part I wouldn't say was hard, but it was time consuming. And I think that's what it takes though to write a good book.
I think the amount of dedication that you have and the time that you've put in, and I think the proof is in the pudding because the book is great.
Thanks.
Do you want to talk a little bit about where can we get the book?
The book is available on Amazon, so anyone can buy it on Amazon. It's called Dairy Doc's Discovery Goggles, Milk from Cow to Carton. The premise is that kids are putting on discovery goggles and that transports them to the different parts of the process of milk's journey. Right now, it is available individual purchase on Amazon, but if people are interested in bulk purchasing, they can contact me directly for some of these school groups and ag literacy organizations. I have discounted bulk pricing available because I really want this to be used as a resource in classrooms and with kids across the country. So people are also welcome to contact me. My website is michelleschack.com, or you can find me online as The Dairy Doc.
And in case you missed all of that, we'll have everything linked on our website. So the Ag in the Classroom sign up, we'll have Dr. Schack's website, the links to Amazon to purchase. We'll have all that on there. So visit our website. This is the only one you need to remember, just one, and then you can go find everything else. MaricopaCountyFB.org, and everything will be linked there on the blog page for this podcast. So now that everybody knows where to find it, you were actually on TV this morning.
I was. I was on TV. I was interviewed by Arizona's Family, Channel 3, live in studio to talk about the book.
So fun. Did you ever think when you were going through vet school that this would be where you were at?
In vet school, actually, I was on TV for...
So yeah.
for a contest to win an ultrasound machine for our club for large animal medicine. And we made a skit and we won the contest because we got the news to put us on the news. And then the whole city voted for us on the website. And we won an ultrasound machine in vet school.
That's fantastic. And I think you were always going to end up
You didn't see that coming.
I did not. That's so fantastic.
Yeah.
So I love that you're getting out there and we love showcasing anything from Arizona. So I'm so glad that Arizona Family saw the powerful message behind what you're doing as well.
Totally. They were really happy to highlight the book and what I'm doing, and showed some pictures of the Arizona dairy farms. And we talked about the Arizona dairy farm families that I get to work with and how amazing they all are. And that was really cool. I think that as much as I can help speak out for the industry and share what I know and what I see honestly, and show people the good side of dairy and all the good things that dairy farms and the dairy industry is doing, that's a lot of fun for me to be able to do. And it's cool on the news to be able to reach some people that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise.
Absolutely. Well, with that, I'm so curious about the survey that you did. Like I said, it's like my favorite series that you've done on your socials because the answers are so funny. So what are some of the most wild out-of-pocket responses you got from some of those kids?
The kids were so confused when I asked them, how does the milk get from the cow to the grocery store, that they just started making things up. So somebody said that the cow flies to Costco and then pees out the milk. Somebody else thought that the milk got put on a conveyor belt at the farm and just conveyored all the way to the grocery store. Another kid thought that it goes in a helicopter. One kid thought that the store buys all of the cows. And I said, well, then what? And the cows are just at the store behind the milk case being milked. I mean, they were just trying to figure it out. And then the other thing that was really interesting is they didn't have the words for udder and how the milk gets out of the cow. And I didn't actually ask them about that part, but a lot of them tried to fill that in. So they were like, oh, the farmer just squeezes the cow and the milk comes out. A lot of them thought the cow peed or pooped it out. A lot of people thought that it just comes out of the cow's belly, which I think they did have in their mind a picture of an udder, but they didn't have the word for it. So in my book, I actually talk about what an udder is and how the milk comes out of the udder, because I think that that's important too. If the kids want to understand it and their brain is trying to make up the reason or come up with a word for it, then we should give them the correct word.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the craziest question that you've had on social media from anybody?
From anybody. There's a lot of really, really crazy anatomy questions. Like, where does the milk come out? Or what stomach does the milk come from? Or are we drinking cow pee? People seem to be very confused about anatomy. And I don't know how old these people are that are asking the questions, but I just try to honestly answer them. Then there's a lot of confusion around the milk part as well. Like I said, we're dyeing the milk. The milk doesn't come out of the cow. The cow has to be forcibly restrained to get the milk out. Those are all false. And a lot of people are concerned about the cow's welfare and the quality of their milk, which, as they should be, good for you. And I can help explain what all the things we do to ensure the cow's well-being and the safety and nutrition of the milk that comes out of that cow. But yeah, I hear a lot of really crazy things. It's a lot of fun and kind of eye-opening to see what people are hearing and then be able to respond to those things.
Yeah. I've gotten the why is milk white question before.
I don't know what color they think it is.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of confusion around standardization, like what is whole milk, and that could be a book. What is whole milk and what is 2%? And then as well, the testing and regulation process. I try to highlight that because there is a lot of regulation around food safety. Milk is one of the most highly regulated food products on our shelves. And it's tested multiple points in multiple ways to make sure that it is safe for the consumer.
Absolutely. There's so much information. And when you stand in front of the dairy case in the store, there are so many options.
Yeah.
And so how do you know what you should be choosing?
Yeah, it can be kind of overwhelming. Some of those labels have a lot of claims on them. And some of the claims are regulated, but some of the claims are not. You can write a lot of things that mean nothing. You could just say they mean something, but then a lot of the claims are really truly backed, and they do have regulation behind them. And then some of the things that, I guess one of the things I try to explain is some of the processes that milk goes through is regulated. Like milk being 3.25% fat that's a regulatory thing. That's what it has to be, marked as whole milk and sold. But a lot of people think that that's somehow bad, or that we're doing something to the milk to make it not as good, or how dare we. But I try to explain they're following the law. That's what the law says. And there's a lot of confusion around the labels. And I think there's just so much potential for clarification and education in the labeling part of dairy. I think we're only just beginning.
Absolutely. If you want to learn more about food labeling, we actually do have an episode on that. Also kind of way back from the beginning. So, I'll link it on the website, but very informational. But food labeling in the store is extremely confusing. And if you're just trying to make the best decision for your family, how do you decipher all that? It's like reading a foreign language, because there's so many different options. So, maybe that's something we can work on in the future too.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much again for joining us, taking the time today. We're very excited to highlight your new book, Dairy Doc's Discovery Goggles, Milk from Cow to Carton. It's available on Amazon.
Yep.
And if you're looking for bulk orders, they can be found on her website, which we will link on our website. All of the links that we've mentioned here today will be on the blog episode for this podcast on our website. The one you need to remember, and then you can find everything else from there, is www.maricopacountyfb.org. So thank you, Dairy Doc, for spending the afternoon with us. We greatly appreciate your time, and just thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, go out, get a copy of the book, and we will catch you next week for a brand new episode of Arizona Agriculture Connection. Thank you for tuning in today, and remember, Farm Bureau has a place for you. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your friends on socials. You can also visit our website, maricopacountyfb.org, for more information and to submit a topic you want to learn about. Remember to tune in every Wednesday wherever you listen to podcasts. A huge thank you to Paloma Ready Mix and Materials for supporting our agriculture producers and this podcast. Maricopa County Farm Bureau, bringing you the stories of real families, real farms, and real food. I'm Nicole Clements, signing off. Catch you next week.